O nosso convidado de hoje é nascido e criado na cidade de Nova York e vive atualmente no estado da Carolina do Norte, nos Estados Unidos. Desde 2020, vem fazendo um trabalho sensacional com seu canal no YouTube chamado Goony Googles. Trabalho esse onde ele, além de fazer algumas críticas a filmes e programas de TV de várias partes do mundo, também tem se dedicado a fazer alguns reacts, que são comentários sobre artistas brasileiros, como Tim Maia, Alcione, seu Jorge, Elis Regina,
ainda somos os mesmos e vivemos como os nossos pais.
e os Racionais MCs, considerável de 260 mil seguidores até o presente momento. Dentre esse número gigantesco de seguidores brasileiros, eu confesso ser mais um deles. No Minas Negras Gerais de hoje, Goony Googles.
No lie, I haven't heard but half a bar yet. I will be playing this in my car tomorrow, bumping this shit.
Ancestralidade, identidade, negritude, cultura. Minas Negras Gerais.
Is it the very first time you've been interviewed by a Brazilian interviewer?
This would be my third time.
Your third?
Yeah. So I was interviewed by a young journalist. He just watched my videos and he was like, I like it. And then like maybe a month ago, a journalist for the BBC who's Brazilian, her nephews, sent her my videos and she wrote an article on me. It's the craziest thing. I don't even understand how that happened.
Well, maybe it's something linked to ancestrality. Maybe.
Right.
I believe that.
Yeah, like I imagine being at work and like something you did goes viral. I didn't really understand what was happening. Everybody was just hitting me saying, oh, there's an article. I'm like, oh, because it's in Portuguese. So it's not going to show up for me. So when I looked for it, I'm like, oh, okay, it's real,
So how about learning Portuguese to keep on talking to your Brazilian fans and friends?
Yeah. So I'm actually doing Portuguese classes right now.
Oh, you?
I started yesterday.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
So how about initiate something in Portuguese right now?
Okay. Let's see. Yesterday we worked on how to say what I eat. Let's see. Eu como pão. I believe that means I eat bread.
Eu como pão.
Pão. Okay, there we go. Yeah. She warned me what it could sound like, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to make sure I don't say that.
Fantastic. That's great. What does really come to mind when you hear about Brazil?
So for me, initially, what came to mind was like athletes. When I was younger, when I would see Brazilians, it was always through the context of basketball, MMA, or soccer. Then as I got older, it was like, oh, the diaspora, right? Because I started learning more about Black people in the Caribbean. I had already known them throughout my life because I grew up in New York, but South Americans I didn't know that much about. And so as I got older, started getting interested, watched documentaries, read up on it. And so that's what I initially think of when it comes to Brazil. I think of the Blackness down there, right? Like that's just my entry point into the context. Yep.
Do you believe that Brazilian Blackness it has something to do with American Blackness too? What do you think?
So when I the first thing that I reacted to, that I reviewed of Brazilian content. It was a City of God. And the only reason I had knew of that movie is because of how popular it was in the Black community. It's crazy, but over here, up until recently, it's not that much representation for us. So when people see like the big stars and stuff, you can count that on one hand. I mean, not on one hand, but you can count them, right? It's not as many as people assume. And so when we would see films like that, or a film out of Jamaica or something like that, we view ourselves, we're like, oh, that's dope. I didn't know about this. But then once I'm reacting to hip hop, then I'm seeing the connection where it's like, oh, nah, this is natural to us no matter where we are. The hip hop culture, it almost immediately resonates with some of us, right? And so that's where the connection was. And then when it comes to me listening to samba, without hearing the lyrics, without knowing what it means, I immediately start moving, right? Like it's something about that where, oh, I automatically feel connected to this. I say this all the time in my reactions. Oh, this is familiar to me. I never heard this, but I get this, but yeah.
Yeah, it seems like, just like African percussions are in our DNA, right?
Right, absolutely. And it expressed itself in these different ways, but it's always to where, oh, yeah, I rock with this heavy. And that's where my thing was, like, how didn't I know about this? That's where, yeah.
You're from New York, right?
Yes.
You were born in New York.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York. And so it's not like most of the country. I noticed that when I initially started reacting, some of the comments I received would be like, oh, yeah, you didn't know about these other people or something. Like I'm the ignorant American. In New York, it's not like that as much, right? Like we have people from all over. And so my inclination is not to be the ignorant American. My inclination is to learn more about and hear them out. I grew up with Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. It wasn't, I'm not cut off from other cultures as much as people would think,
Yeah, it sounds just like London or even Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Right?
Right, that's what I heard, yep.
Goody Jackson's a nickname, right?
Yes. My real name is Clinton Manigault.
Clinton.
Yes. Yep.
That's right. Should I call you by Mr. Jackson, Goony, or what? Clinton?
Oh, you could call me Goony. Clinton. Yeah, but Goony is straight.
How did you manage to arrange this nickname?
So there is a famous comedy bit that Eddie Murphy does. Yeah, where the thing is like, his aunt, she could barely speak or whatever, and she spoke Goony Google or something like that. And that, I don't know, I just needed a name at the time, and that's what popped into my head. It's not even nothing really deep or profound.
Man, the very first time I watched to one of the reacts, I confess, I got myself quite surprised. I mean, an Afro-American brother talking about Brazilian artists' lyrics. It was something beyond my expectations, I should say. And immediately I subscribed to your channel, right? And I hope you subscribe to mine too.
Yes. I had subscribed to you on Instagram before.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize you had a channel, but I had been subscribed to you on Instagram for a while.
Yeah, welcome to the club, man.
Yeah.
And see, I've been watching too many of your videos since then. How did you come up with this brilliant idea on showing your first impressions, especially on Brazilian artists?
Okay. When I initially started my channel, I didn't know what it was going to be. And so I just did what a lot of Black people from the US were doing at that time. We were sitting home. It was pandemic. Let me just do reactions. I reacted to a Black US TV show called Lovecraft Country. And I noticed it takes place during Jim Crow. And I noticed when I began to speak, something sort of came out of me, and people responded to it. Like the channel picked up really quickly, a lot more quickly than I thought. So by the time I got to the reactions to Brazilian music, I kind of knew that if I'm just myself and I respond what I'm thinking and the connections I make, I feel like it'll resonate with people. I had no idea it would resonate like this. You know, it's dead ass just me expressing what I see and expressing the views that I was raised on and the views that I've arrived at my age, you know. And when I see certain topics, there's a connection there here in the US, you know. And so I just don't think a lot of people over here just knew about Brazilian music that much. But you're seeing it a lot more. I'm seeing a lot more people opening up. I think it's just the age group. They're a lot more willing to go on TikTok. They'll hear a Brazilian song. They'll find out Gal Costa just died, and Tyler the Creator said something. They go and check her out. You know, it's not like before where it was so closed off. And so my whole thing is like, I'm kind of in the middle of that generation. I'm a millennial. I'm a lot more open, and I'm expressing myself. Yep.
What would you attribute this opening to Brazilian culture, especially in the United States, in the current days?
Over here, I'm not sure if you've heard the term the diaspora wars.
Diaspora. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, so over here, there's been this pushback from different groups of Black people, and they're always going at it. It's this online thing. I feel like a lot of it is from outside forces pitting us against each other, but there's been a response by young people rejecting that, where they're like, nah, we got to come together on this. You know, they see themselves in other people. There's a channel, I can't recall right now, when she posts stuff, everybody goes, and it sounds ignorant, but there's a reason for this. They go, oh, they look like us. Like, all of the comments say that. And part of the reason is, over here, knowledge is held from us. So before we could even learn about Black people throughout the diaspora, we would have to learn about ourselves first.
Yeah.
Right? People just learned about all of the atrocities that happened to these many towns that sprouted up after the Civil War. Right? But we're all Black. A lot of us didn't know because it's been held away. So before
from the same roots.
Yes, from the same roots. And so by the time this generation has learned that, they've been brought up on that. They understand the past. And now they're seeking out themselves all around the world. So you'll see them looking to Haiti and, looking at their revolution. You'll see them, real young people. We're talking about teenagers. And you'll see them all over TikTok educating people. They've learned themselves and how to educate. So that's where it's coming from. It's this craving of knowledge because they realize it's been held from us. And it was done on purpose,
Yeah, I also have this impression, that knowledge has been stolen from us.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. When I was younger, I just happened to grow up in Brooklyn, and at the time, it was very Afrocentric.
Are you still living in Brooklyn?
Oh no, I'm in the South now. I'm in the South.
The South. Where in South?
In North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yep.
That's right.
And the first thing that we were taught when I was growing up, I went to a school called PS 308. They would have murals of all these Black figures on the wall. And the first thing they told us is that a lot of what you are taught comes from white people, did not come from them. It came from us. And ever since I've been a child, this is something I've known, and I'm experiencing a lot more people coming to that understanding. But in the US, it was unique to certain areas. It would probably be major urban areas where you would see a lot more of that. So like if you look at our media in the 90s, a lot of that would be like making fun of people who would say things like that, where they sort of ridicule you, like, oh, and now they got the word hotep. You're a hotep because you link yourself back to Egypt, or you're a hotep because you want to keep African traditions, right? And so that's the thing with me when I saw Brazil and I hear about candomblé, I'm like, so many people practice it. Over here, it's not like that. Everybody's Christian, and so they took our belief system from us and then installed a new one. And I've known this since I was like a kid, but I see a lot more people coming to that understanding.
Yeah. We've got many opposite things, especially in the past,
right?
Because the slave owners they gave a sort of permission,
right,
to our people in the past. Okay,
right.
You can play your drums, you can play your percussion,
right,
through the night, but be here,
absolutely,
in the morning to keep working, right? And I think it didn't really happen in the United States in the past, right?
No. Okay, so it happened in certain areas. Are you familiar with the Gullah Geechee people?
Gullah Geechee. I was told about them.
Yeah. So what happened with them is interesting. They are people who lived in the islands off the coast of the Carolinas, the East Coast. Now the thing is, it was the weather, the temperature when the summer came, it would be so hot and humid, the Europeans couldn't take it, and they would leave the people there, right? And yes, but they were still in bondage, and the white people would still come back. But when it would get too hot for about a season, they would leave them. And these people, because of that, they got to build their own language. Even right now, they have their own queen. They still practice African traditional religion. It's unique, very unique. For us, it was complete and total separation and subjugation. Miscegenation wasn't a thing for us, really. It was always about segregation, and it was always about making sure we were the lowest class. And they made sure to keep us there. So that's why everybody is pretty much Christian over here. Everybody has really no link to the African traditions. I won't say everybody. There's a lot that do, but not as many as Brazil.
I see.
Yeah.
We've got some differences, and on the other hand, we've got many similarities, right?
Right.
The struggle against racism, for example, it has been established all around the globe,
right?
Especially in countries such as Brazil and in the US, right?
Right.
Both countries had their history based on enslavement, as we were talking here. Yet, there's a big difference in it, because Brazilian Black community compounds over 56% in my country, while in the United States, you've got only 14%, right?
Right.
Of a Black population. Beyond that, the American Black community seems to establish the rules there, which leads to respect and a sort of Black sovereignty. How do you feel about that?
So, when I speak to people from outside of the U.S., oftentimes I've spoken to some Brazilians who visited, and they said, I was surprised, for one, because of how segregated it was. Like, they went to school in the South. They was like, yo, everybody stayed separate. And then he said, also, I thought there would be way more Black people by the amount you're represented in media. That's just hyper-capitalism, right? Like, everything that they're sending out from us to the world is just because they can make money off of it, right? Like, the culture breeds capital for them, and so that's why it's pushed out there. But the thing is that all of our culture is a response to the dominant society, like almost entirely. The fact that we are so adamant that, hey, we're black power. I mean, we didn't call ourselves that, right? We didn't make up this social group. They created the social group, and they, even right after the Civil War, Black Africans who were freed went into the U.S. and they killed it. They were hyper capitalists. They were doing it the right way. And the reason they were killing it is because, well, they just learned that, I mean, they came from working day and night for nothing. This is easy to them, right? So they sprout up all these towns and they get destroyed. So that creates a culture of, well, we can't trust them. We cannot trust the dominant society. We cannot, we have to be about ourselves. Now, as we go on and we start moving to urban areas in the North and stuff like that, the issue becomes white people keep us in areas and do not allow us to move out. And even when we did, they would leave. That's the whole white flight phenomenon. And from that, it made us understand, okay, we'll never be accepted. So now you have a full culture that is skeptical of the dominant society, a full culture that knows that they'll never be respected. And so by the time we get to here, where people have gone to school, they got jobs and all this, even when we work in these environments and people make it, they know they can't act like the people at their job. They know their hair has to be a certain way. They know they can't speak a certain way. Our whole culture as Black people over here is a response to how we've been set apart as a social group.
Fantastic. Now, let's keep on talking a bit more about your YouTube channel, right? Because the channel has now morphed into a platform for reactions to Brazilian art in the form of music and movies of varying genres from the past and present, right? The very first video of yours I watched, it was React. You had to a Racionais MC's legal drama, and in this video you said the fact that the song is a representation of the struggle, the glory of it, the coming through it, that is deep shit. And how did this song affect you, and how was the experience of meeting them in person in New York last year?
Okay. So this one is crazy. That video got so many views and it never stopped.
You know who built the motherfucking... Listen, man. Listen, man. I was the flesh, now I'm the razor. That means I was the prey. Now I'm the predator. I was the one catching it before, now I'm giving it. Ooh.
And people still respond to it. My viewpoint from that comes as somebody who oftentimes when we meet other Black people from around the world in the US, they represent their nation. And I understand that, right? That's where you from, you rep that. It's never, we never really bond over Blackness. So when I saw this video, I'm like, wow. Like this is something that I recognize off top. I say this, the first hip hop song I remember is Public Enemy. And to me, Racionais is in that same lineage. And when I saw the video, I'm looking at the background and I'm seeing Black people from all around the world. So it was clear they were not just speaking about Brazil. They were speaking about the struggle of stolen Africans who survived, right? And for me, I found that to be profound because it had been so long since I had seen that over here in the music. Right? A lot of that is older artists. So even though that's an older song of Racionais, Negro Drama, for me, it was brand new. And I was like, oh shit, like that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so by the time I met them, okay, the thing that's crazy about them, even though they are pro-black and they speak on the struggle and their whole concept is to put a viewpoint on that, everybody in Brazil seems to love them. Even people on the right. It's crazy. I would see see comments in the comment section. I'm like, right. So by the time I meet them, it's like I'm meeting LL Cool J or I'm meeting, you know, Rakim or something like that. Because when people tell me, oh yeah, they, you know, they're on our version of the SAT, our college entrance exam, I'm like, oh, they're that big, right?
Yeah.
And I see
That's for real.
Yeah, right. And I see Mono Brown with Lula. Hip hop artists over here aren't treated with that same reverence or respect. Even the ones, especially the ones who spoke out about blackness. You will never see Chuck D hugged up with the president or anything like that, right? And he won't be accepted by the entire nation as a representation. So for me, I just thought it was dope. I was in awe when I met them, you know? Yeah. Like they were mad, laid back, and cool, and everybody when they walked in, it was like a hush and a murmur, and you know.
Fantastic. Is your YouTube channel your only work, or have you another 9 to 5?
So I have a 9 to 5. I do logistics, but then I also have another channel. So the channel initially was me watching TV and movie from around the world, reacting to it. I just moved that to a different channel, and the other channel became Brazilian content. Hey, when Brazilians say we like this and we want this, there was nothing I could do about it. Like they wouldn't even show my reactions of gringo content to gringos. Like, so it wasn't getting out there. So I had to make another channel.
So we say that the most part of your followers are Brazilian. Yes. And how do you deal with that?
Okay, so for one, the first thing I did was I got the translation app on my phone. I remember downloading it, and YouTube maybe a year or two ago, they made it to where you could automatically translate comments, and that's helped me a lot. But then the other thing is a lot of people who watch, I gotta say, I probably have the most well-educated subscribers in all of YouTube. It's so many just thinkers and stuff, and they'll hit me in the DMs and stuff and be like, oh, I noticed you said this, or you didn't know this, and they'll teach me Afro-Brazilian religion or samba or Portuguese, or if I didn't pronounce something right. And so it's been difficult because I would like to communicate more. I don't only want to do just reactions to music. I'd like to communicate. And so that's what I'm doing, learning Portuguese. But as far as, you know, communication, it's been easier than I thought it would be. Let's put it that way. But it's still, you know, it's a roadblock. Yeah.
Keep on learning your Portuguese, right?
Uh-huh.
Keep on learning your Portuguese.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
When are you coming to Brazil?
Oh, I get asked that a lot. I am not sure because I'm so busy, and I'm a single parent. It'll have to be something I have to set up well in advance. So, you know, but I do plan on coming. Yeah, absolutely.
When you come, please just let me know, right?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And on next time we will be talking in Portuguese.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, man. Yes.
Oh no, I was just about to say, but yeah, I'm working on that. Even last night before I went to bed, I was, you know, working on my vowel sounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, doing well.
Yeah.
Man, I think this is the very end of our interview. Okay. I'm a very, very friend of yours, very, very friend of your work too. Thank you very much for giving us this wonderful interview. And before we go, I'd like you to give to send us some message to Black people in Brazil.
Right. First, I would like to thank everybody who's shown support, and I just want to say, individually, as an individual, y'all changed my life, right? But also, I would like to say, just know that there are Black folks in the U.S. who see your struggle and see themselves within it, but also, you know, there is an attempt, all right, by people, by forces on the right, to keep us disconnected, right? And so I know some people see reactors and YouTubers like me and assume I'm just doing it for views. Okay, I understand that. I'm not, but I understand why you would think that. But I would say, give a listen and a look to the other Black reactors and reviewers and attempt to educate them, right? Even if you see it as they're just trying to get views. A lot of these are young kids. They just see it as, okay, but try to educate them. And I promise you're going to see a difference in the next generation of young Black kids in the U.S. And already I see it where they're a lot more knowledgeable and accepting and receiving of the influence and the culture of Black people from around the world.
That's right. Conversei hoje com Goony Jackson, diretamente de South Carolina. Goony Jackson é a prova de Brasil, de mundo negro que dá muito certo. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. This has been a pleasure.
Apoie o Minas Negras Gerais. Pix minasnegrasgerais@gmail.com. Bora nos aquilombar!